The 30th of October 2018. Dear Barbara Hepworth, I need to tell you that I stole a stone from your garden. It's a small one, insignificant, but I was so overcome with emotion whilst I was there that I needed to keep a bit of that place with me. For years I dreamed of St. Ives, this tropical place with its presumably magical light. I didn't really know much about you or about your life, but on many occasions I'd seen your work in exhibitions around the world. I'm not sure it ever really grabbed me. But on seeing the studio and the stones, uncut and ready to work, a strong sense of affinity came over me. You were a tough lady. The work so labour intensive would have put me off, but I can sense your determination. When I think of who your female contemporaries are, I can't initially think of anybody. I push Eileen Gray into your time frame. Who were the other women working with materials? You collaboratively wrote a book about the constructivists. Did you know Stepanova? When I read that the first time you saw Traywin's studio, you knew it was for you. But then on moving in, it had qualities that you felt were bigger than you. You said that you felt the place was just on loan to you. It makes me think of Virginia Woolf in A Room of One's Own. I've had that longing before, and my heart still pines for it. My friend Naomi messaged me to tell me that Woolf also spent time in St. Ives, but I got the message after I left there. Did you ever meet? Maybe she was of a different time. The 7th of November 2018. Dear Barbara, the garden is beautiful. There's a sense of care here, an obvious love to tend and be with what is natural. The studio seems to have a parallel between an internal and an external, an entwining of the two. The huge windows bring the outside into you. The garden, a space that is almost a fiction. A place you saw each piece existing in a fabrication. It has neither the grammar of the gallery space, nor the wilderness of a field. I look at your succulents in the glass house and I think of you planting them. They don't have a purpose in the work itself, but are in dialogue with it, within its making. Some of your cactus have grown really tall, much bigger than you or I. And I wonder what was left behind by you, and what your estate put in situ to give some sense of your thinking. 2 days ago, I saw my own plants beginning to drop their leaves, and it's killing me. I think that I see my own self-care wrapped up in my plants. I wonder if you did as well. The leaves that drop are tube-like, long and narrow. They look like some weird teeth. Gathering them reminds me of a dream I keep having, where my own teeth keep falling out. One dropping knocks out the next. In the dream, it's not painful but distressing. My house plants are dying. I repotted them with sand I took from a beach in Cornwall. I didn't realise the sand would be too salty, and it's killing them. And that's killing me. The 16th of November 2018. Dear Barbara, I noticed on your upstairs table that there is a bronze cast of what I presume is your hand. It's a strange thing there. I place my hand beside it to think about the comparisons, trying to notice the differences. I'm Irish, raised in a working class family. You grew up comfortable, maybe always being affirmed and perhaps with a strong sense of your own ability. We are both headstrong, in love with stones, sensing energies and blinkered by reverie. At the moment, I've decided to cast my own hand with the stone that I stole from your garden. I keep thinking of phantom limbs, of a ghost hand guiding another, of yours guiding mine, of one hand sensing that of another and pushing it in a certain direction. The 4th of December 2018. Dear Barbara, what is it about you, Barbara, that has me fascinated? Why do I see something in you that I can't see in myself? I don't want to carve, but I see your pull towards the stone, to some sort of resonance. To stand in front of an ancient thing, a stone, we can't possibly conceive its time and existence. What replays in my head now is the connection to holes, to concavity as you called it, to the sea, the taut strings in your sculptures pulling like you mentioned, pulling you towards the ocean. To find your hand on the table at your studio was a curiosity, and it's the left one also. And you were right-handed, but I only know this from the footage in the BFI archive. You mentioned in that same footage that you believe that the right hand is the motor hand, and the left hand is the thinking and feeling hand. Is it with the left hand that you feel out your position in the world, while the right one makes you feel grounded? The 28th of August 2019. Dear Barbara, I found a musical score in your archive at the Tate Britain. I asked my friend Naomi to play it to me so that we could talk about translation. The composer, a close friend of yours, wrote this for you. I think I read it reflects the sound of you working on the stones. Naomi has access to a piano at Kettle's Yard. She said it was a sign. She plays the score for me there. They had to move an Gabo work off the piano so we could use it. It gave us joy that they moved aside such a prominent piece by a male artist to enable our conversation. I watched Naomi's hands move over the piano keys as she figures out the score, slipping a bit as she feels it out. Her hands are thinking. For a year now, Barbara, your bronze hand appears so alive to me. An artifact that doesn't seem to naturally fit alongside everything else. A misstep, a puncture. Did you see it as some sort of self-portrait? A way of leaving part of your physical self in that room, an act to leave a shadow. Bronze, such a solid thing. I imagine this hand pinning down mine with its art value. When I began to cast my own hand, it became quite a task trying to do it whilst one hand was surrendered in the process. On a number of occasions, my hand became trapped in the mould. It would be locked inside the alginate in a vacuum. In a moment of panic, I thought of something you said, which was, from a sculptor's point of view, that one can either be the spectator of an object or the object itself. You said for a few years you became the object. I wonder how you felt when you first saw your hand as a piece of bronze. Was it akin to hearing a recording of your voice for the first time? Did it sit on the studio table, and did you sometimes place your hand on top of it as a touchstone, as a reminder to be kinder to yourself? Did you see the hand as something else? Did you see that it knew things you couldn't articulate? That it had its own memory and knowledge that was autonomous to the rest of you? But what are you to me, Barbara? Are you entirely a fiction? I think I'm trying to engage in a dialogue with you, but this suggests the potential of a response. I look up the word dialogue and find its Greek root is dia, meaning across or through, and legin, meaning speak. Is it with the objects you've left behind that you could say something to me? In the making of your work, did you perhaps leave things in them that you were unable to articulate? Are the gaps in your sculptures, the concavities, carved by you as pauses in speech? Or were they carved to mark moments when you felt silenced? When you had burning things to say, but your voice abandoned you? Are the holes your escape routes? Barbara, have I made you into some sort of scaffolding, into a support structure? Will it mean that for the moment from the outside of this project, mostly what is seen is your presence? That behind this there's a type of building happening, that at some moment your presence will be deconstructed, leaving behind a more solid thing which will speak in my voice. That at that moment, you will then be a shadow of a thing, its muscle memory, my phantom limb. The 16th of September 2021. Dear Barbara, it's just over a year since I wrote to you last. A lot has changed in the world since then. I have a child, a curious boy, made mostly of rice crackers and pasta. My body has changed. I feel like the ship of Theseus. Essentially, I'm the same person, but the fabric of me is different. The first time I went to look at your archive at the Tate Britain, I learned you had triplets, as well as your firstborn. It floored me. I wondered how you ever managed to keep working. I know you had a really tough time after your triplets were born. This was hard to read about. Returning to the studio for me has been a tangle of emotions, a feeling like I need to reconcile this new identity. The immense joy of feeling on my own speed again, but also the longing to know what little joys my son is encountering each time I'm not there. I've spent the past hour trying to find something you wrote around the time you had your babies. I might have misremembered this, or perhaps projected onto it, but I think you said that having children made you more determined to make work, that there was now no room to fail. I've been reading a series of essays edited by the photographer Moira Davey, by women makers who also have become parents. These texts keep me buoyant. Last week, I read an essay by Alice Walker in which she questions how life is to be lived, how art is to be lived. In it, she said that she makes work for the adults her children will become. Their interruptions becoming part of the narrative and the making of the work. Since returning to the studio, Barbara, I've had to learn to work in fragments. I look around my studio, moving the plastic sheeting that covers the boxes of tools and materials that were packed only days before he was born. I long for a full day here, just to try and get a run towards those ideas that have festered in the middle of night feeds and under piles of laundry. I live in the parallel. How did you do it, Barbara? How did you find the physical energy to hammer, chip, and cajole your identity as a mother artist?